Mindset, a daily dose of practical wit and wisdom with a professional educator and trainer, Amazon best-selling author, United States Marine, television and radio host, Paul G. Markle. Each episode will focus on positive and productive ways to strengthen your mindset and help you improve your relationships, career goals, and overall well-being. Please welcome your host, Paul G. Markle.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whatever time it happens to be that you like to consume this show. You can consume it any time of the day or night. I don't care. As long as you're listening, that's the only thing I care about. Welcome to Morning Mindset, and let's get right into it. Now, as I've mentioned before, I find it hard to get inspiration sitting at a desk, and just about nobody does. You need to go out and find your inspiration. You need to seek it out. You're not going to get inspiration sitting even in this wonderful padded wall studio. You're not going to get inspiration. And I needed to come up with 3 or 4 episode topics for Morning Mindset. So what did I do? I went out in the field. I got in my truck and I drove out into the wide open spaces of Wyoming. And I actually went to an area that I had never been to before. I pulled out my map and then I opened up. I've got an app on my phone now. It's called Onyx. It's called the Onyx app. And I'm trying it out, see if I like it. And I've got an actual paper map. And so I went off of the beaten path. I went off of the normal road onto just a gravel, dirt country road. And I explored. And I found areas. I went to areas I'd never been to before. And as I was doing that, I found that I was going up in elevation. And I pulled out the map and I pulled out I opened the app and I was going from 6,800 to 6,900 just to 7,000 plus. And I saw a hill off in the distance and I thought, well, I want to get a good look at this area. And it's wide open country out here. If you've never been here, you should come at least once. It's wide open country, and in order to get a better look at the surrounding area, I want to get higher, right? Because it's higher ground. So I did. I drove up there, and I found it was about 7,100, 7,200 feet. I got out with my binoculars, and I looked around. And you say, yeah, Paul, that's what people do. People do that all the time. But why do we seek higher ground? And what is the benefit for us to seeking higher ground? Well, it should be obvious, but when you go to higher ground, it gives you a new and different perspective of the world. Because you can see things that you couldn't see from lower. And you may realize that something that you thought was farther away is close or vice versa or what have you. But we seek the higher ground in order to give us new perspective, actual realistic physical perspective of our world. Now, how does that translate to you and I in leading a positive and productive life, whether it's in our family or whether it's at work or what have you? Have you ever heard people, talking about seeking the high ground in an argument or seeking the higher ground in when they're looking for a solution to a problem? And it may not be a physical problem like I don't know where I am and I need to find my way back. It may be something more notional, but they're seeking the higher ground. If you are stuck, let us say that you have been struggling with a problem at work. You're struggling with a task. You're trying to find a solution to a problem. Maybe in your family life, you're struggling to find a solution to a problem, and it's driving you mad, and you're focusing time and energy, mental energy and emotional energy on this problem, and you just can't seem to figure out a way out of it. What you probably need to do is you need to stop and realize that you keep focusing on the problem. You keep looking at the problem from the same perspective. You keep looking at it from the same direction. You are on the same level with the problem, and you keep re-looking at it. Like, for instance, we're in my physical world here. If I was on a path or a trail, and I was on the X where I'd been before, and I went to that X, and I look all around me, And everything it looks this, once I've seen it once, it looks the same. And it's not going to look different until I move my feet and I go somewhere else and I change my perspective until I get to higher ground. You may have to do something different. You may have to figure out a way to look at that issue, whatever it is you're trying to solve. It might not be a horrible problem. It might just be a challenge. You may have a challenge. You're like, I know we can do better. I know we can sell more. I know we can produce more. I know that we can make a better product, but I just keep looking. I don't see how. That's probably because your feet are in the same place and you keep looking at that challenge from the same perspective and you're not seeing a way to change it. When people are I was been involved in professional security for a long time. And one of the things that we would do as professional security providers, especially if we were going to do physical security or observe the physical security of a property, is we would do two ways. We would look at it from two ways. We would look at it from our own perspective as, okay, we're the security people for this property, and this is what we're looking at. This is what we see. And then we would do the opposite, myself and my colleagues. We would go outside, actually leave the property, because most often when you're talking about your physical security plan, you're there on the property in the center of the property and you're looking out from where you are. But that's your perspective. If a bad person was trying to sneak onto your property to, commit theft or what have you, they're not looking at it from the center. They're looking at it from the outside. So what we would legitimately do is we would do site surveys from the outside of the property. We would go around and we would look at the property from a different perspective, from the perspective of a person who might be trying to sneak onto the property or break into the property, to commit theft or any other thing. So in order to solve that challenge of how do we make this property secure, we had to look at it, or the best way was to look at it from two different perspectives. So the lesson for today, the seeking the higher ground, sometimes you need to, if you have a challenge, an issue, a problem, whatever it is, and you're stuck, you're like, I'm stuck and it's frustrating me and it shouldn't be frustrating me. I should be moving on by now. Okay, I get you. I got you. Deliberately attempt to look at it from another perspective. Now, this may be very difficult. You say, well, how can I do that, Paul? How can I look at it from a different perspective? I think I have. I think I've looked at it from every angle. And you may say to yourself, I've looked at this problem from every possible angle and there is no solution. Okay. If that's the case, then the other thing you can do is find someone with a fresh set of eyes, someone who hasn't been looking at that challenge or problem at all, ever, and bring them in and ask them to take a look. And that fresh set of eyes, that fresh perspective, they might say, oh, there's your problem right there. And you're like, geez, I've been looking at this for months and I haven't been able to figure it out. You walk in on day one, you look at it, and you know why? Because they bring a different perspective. All right. Seek the higher ground, ladies and gentlemen. It may give you a new and different perspective on your world. I am your host, Paul Markle, and I'll talk to you again really soon.
Thank you for spending time with us today. To get show notes, submit a topic request, and for more from your host, Paul G. Markle, visit morningmindsetpodcast.com. That's morningmindsetpodcast.com. Please leave a review for this podcast on your favorite podcast player. We appreciate your time and effort, and we look forward to reading your honest feedback.